most of the current AI systems were all based on idealism. One founder, one creator of AI, or one country, right? If the country can influence, become an ideal. Basically, you don't algorithms and your programming. Everything is based on certain ideology, which can be coming out of some philosophy. Could be a right philosophy or wrong philosophy, coming from one ideological philosophy or one guy, literally one guy who can make the decision and play as God, right? That is what most of the AI, and it kills me from inside when I see such kind of AI, because I can see that what's going to happen eventually. Everybody, a lot of these gods, demigods are going to come behind the AI. Each AI will become a god. So that's the idealism which I didn't like. Why I love nominalism, Aristotle's nominalism. Aristotle's nominalism says that you only learn from the environment. The intelligence comes from the environment. Now you see the global leaders negotiate based on minerals, negotiate terms based on artificial intelligence. These are all tools. They are called geoeconomic tools. But again, you have to use it as the right strategy to, apply right strategies and use the right tools for right negotiations. That may sound very political, but then once you have the priorities done, these are the tools we need, these are the resources the nation has to focus on, then you are going to tell the industry, hey, align with it. So the industry goes and gets its priority, and businesses are realigned, restructured according to the priorities, of the nation. That's the magical wand of geoeconomics. So geoeconomics is no more a subcomponent, actually it becomes a leader in the current world, leading the geopolitics. If you make a mistake at the architecture level or the ground level, developing every system, then you're blocking opportunity for creation of these values. So while the onus of creation of the value lies with not only the leaders, but also the engineers. That's why we need a discipline to be created, a system of methodology to be created, that the value-oriented architecture becomes a driver for every system moving forward.
Welcome to the Ventura Labs podcast. Today, we're joined by Maya Kannan, an innovator bridging engineering, technology, and geoeconomics. He's exploring the fusion of politics and economics with the transformative role of AI. He introduces his visionary geoeconomic framework discussing digital inheritance, blockchain governance, and the challenges of reshaping economic systems. Now, back to Maya with the 31st Ventura Labs podcast. All right, Maya, good to have you on the podcast today. Glad we could sit down and talk.
Hey, Grant, it's my pleasure to join you today.
Absolutely. Let's just start by, if you could share a little bit about your background, maybe some highlights of your career that have informed your perspective that you now have today.
I'm basically an engineer. I'm an electronic engineer, but who got into computers by choice or by situation. I developed passion in robotics during my college time that, got me into the field of computers eventually. After working in large corporates for a few years, I started my first venture in the year 2000 in the US. I migrated to the US in the year 2000, and then I started my venture. Within 1 year, I, started my first venture. It was a boutique tech company, which I designed it to be a highly innovative company, and I ran it as a closely held company for many years, almost 10 years. And then eventually my quest and passion for more things in both electronics as well as in computers got me into the fields of innovation, where I traveled a lot on the Internet of Things. So two or three things were happening pretty much in the same time period. Right after 2010, the Bitcoin white paper came and started creating the distributed computing world, a new outlook for it. and then the Internet of Things, which is pretty much the electronics boom, which was being held for quite some time. Finally, the in the name of Internet of Things, the electronics and sensors market, was getting a facelift. And then artificial intelligence was kind of showing its face, here and there. But that is a time frame I decided to not to limit myself within running a private company. I started venturing into promoting the industry itself, right? I became an advocate for Industrial Revolution 4.0. I've been the speaker in many conferences and traveled around the world, and then promoting companies as well as I also launched few other startup companies on my own. But one thing I was not happy with is the way things were being projected and promoted was not really scaling up in the market, right? Whether any technology or any business models they were putting out there, whether it is Internet of Things, which was supposed to be scaling to $60 trillion as per the GE's chairman. It didn't even scale to $1 trillion, 60 trillion and trillion, not even a trillion, less than that. So there's something always, everybody was doing the, shallow harvesting and plowing shallow and not able to really to, create institutions and companies that can scale up in its true value, right? So a lot of failures, and I know people don't talk about failures to keep the market intact, but there are a lot more failures in all the fields, including the blockchain. I was not very happy the way blockchain was being hijacked by the cryptocurrency enthusiasts. So that made me to go back and do research. So I took about while promoting the all these traveling around, then promoting the tech and business models. I also spent a substantial time in research, and finally by 2020 I wrote a white paper on Karma Capsule Network, a unique breed of artificial intelligence network, which combines AI, distributed computing, what you call blockchain, plus the Internet of Things market itself, is, the electronics part of it. So it's a unique breed that was created with an intention of, giving a heads up for the new generation of companies and business models to evolve from it. So that was the beginning of my new era that I got involved in, very innovative companies, post Karma Capsule Network. By the way, the technology name for it is called, the technical name is Reinforced CapsNet. Reinforced CapsNet is based on CapsNet, which the award-winning Nobel Prize winner Geoffrey Hinton, right? He got only last year the Nobel Prize, but I adopted his framework, his CapsNet framework, way back in 2019 to develop my theory on top of it. Although I had a lot of ideas very much in line with him well before I came to know about his white paper on CapsNet, but what I saw is an opportunity for me to piggyback on a scientist who has a reputation of 40 years in working in artificial intelligence. So basically, reinforced CapsNet is a modified CapsNet that would adopt a beautiful, neural network for mostly to hold not just the data but intelligence into smaller microbots of intelligence into a very complex network, deep network. So that's the beginning of my new era, and then eventually I got into doing something about economics, because what I saw every time the market tried to, the people come together, leaders come together, the industry leaders come together, social leaders come together to promote something. But when it comes to implementation, it falls flat. Every time I've been seeing the cycle. So finally, only the shallow players make market money from the market and run away and dump the system and declare, oh, it's a failure, right? We've been seeing it every cycle when a new technology is promoted, a new innovation is promoted. Only the speculators make money and not the real industry players and hardworking, businessmen and the technical people. So I wanted to do something about it, and I saw that monetization and economics is a major problem, right? Even the market players, even speculators, if given an opportunity to really make money on real assets with its value, they will do it. They are speculating because a lot of people would not have the ability to create such a intrinsic value in the assets, right? So I decided to spend time on economics, and I chose geoeconomics as a global political economics because a lot of these things are connected politically. Because during my Industrial Revolution 4.0, although it was a kind of a technology advocacy tour across the world, but I ended up representing countries, right? And the political system, because Industrial 4.0 is a political push as well, not just only the economic push. So I saw that opportunity to do something about economics. So connecting economics and technology and business world, right? That's what I started, focusing for the next few years, and then while promoting the companies, so I work on startup companies, to create this, put them into this business model. And even existing companies who are interested in launching new products and solutions, I get involved with them. That's what my life in the last few years. And finally, I also released a book on this called Myonomics, which you got the copy of it, and hope you enjoyed the book. Um, so the book is, it's a beginning of me, giving a platform for people to understand geoeconomics from the economic perspective, technology perspective, and business perspective, right? So that's what I am. And moving forward, I intend to, help bridging the gap between the investment world and the technology or the innovation world, right? Innovation as a major tool for political and economic success, and that requires somebody to bridge the gap between the actual flow of capital and the good projects and good systems and good companies and good societies to be built, efficient societies to be built, and which will give rise to efficient companies, which will help everybody, in the economic ladder. Right? That's what my goal and my journey moving forward.
And at what point in this journey did your political interests start to spark and you became interested in politics?
Um, from my, I'm from India. Indians, it's like unlike the Western world. Only recently, Western world is catching up with the political, getting involved in politics. Indian system, it's like everybody. It's like entertainment for everybody in getting involved in the election time. So politics is a part and parcel. Everybody becomes a politician. Every voter becomes a politician in India. So that's a topic which will be part and parcel of us. Because India was for a long time it was not a one country. Even now it's kind of a aggregation of union of different states, right? So my interest was always there in the a very young democratic system. Only 50 back then. It was 50 years when I was young, but now it is only 75 years of democracy. It's an experiment, right? All the democracies around the world are experiments only, and so that gave me always there was a passion a little bit, was it? But then coming back to your actual question, where it really got into my mainstream is the Industrial Revolution 4.0. So while I was invited by countries like Brazil, I was on stage promoting Industry 4.0 for them, and then the government invited me, all right, and then Hungary, I was invited by Hungary, Digital Hungary initiative and all. Everywhere, the uh, we know very well from the entrepreneurs that politics should not drive the economy or even the market, right? I'm a libertarian. I'd love to be market to be free, right? But at the same time, a political decision really influences or makes or breaks policies. Makes or breaks any market policy change. Even a small policy change can make a major influence in the market. So all the hard work and the efforts that's been put where can go completely south if the policies are not in alignment. So that's why I took this interest on it. Right? It's a as much if I'm not the policy maker, at least I should be part of the as a system which can influence the policymakers and educate them or get something done to make the policies of the nation align with it. That's how it started. Then eventually my passion for geoeconomics started from one of my friend introduced me. I was trying to describe what I am, and we met in Budapest once, and he's an author, famous. He's a guy who his name is Abhishek Prakash. He wrote a book called "World is Vertical" in 2019 itself, well before a lot of these things that you see globally, right? So we had a very nice chat, and I was asking. He's into geopolitics, right? What was I trying to explain? Then he started introducing me into the world of geopolitics and all. The word geopolitics itself is a kind of new, right, for me. I know the political economics and the political system, but then geopolitics. So then I started, digging deeper into it, and then I found, a white paper on geoeconomics. Incidentally, the first person who wrote about geoeconomics, Ludwig, is a kind of he's from the military side. Right? It's a kind of a geostrategy, which he kind of, wrote it into geoeconomics. I adopted that as a right thing for what I'm trying to do to give to the world, right? The geoeconomics. So basically, then I started digging deeper and started gaining more knowledge, more streamlined everything towards geoeconomics, because I don't want to be into geopolitics, which is very shallow, but because I see that more and more, people talk about geopolitics is essentially the tools and necessary strategies for geopolitics can only be applied through geoeconomics, getting the geoeconomics right. So that's why I choose, to define what I do as a geoeconomic thing. And then eventually Myonomics, was born out of that, because I am an engineer, so I tend to, and an architect, so I tend to give a blueprint for things, which without blueprint, I can't live. Like any other good engineer or a good engineering architect, you are a system architect too, I think, by profession, right? So there is without blueprinting, right? Whatever we talk doesn't exist. So at some point of time, you need to give the blueprinting. From that point forward, the world expands. A famous example, John Zachman, who is called father of information age, right? I was one of the lucky to attend his conference, in-person conference, way back. He created enterprise architecture, and I traveled that journey of enterprise architecture and services-oriented architecture world. Um, in his why, he says why you need a blueprinting for enterprises. Okay, because nobody design a company, right? Founders found the company with some little bit of capital in it or borrow money from other people, and then the company gets formed, right? After 20, 30 years, nobody still knows how the company runs. It's all bits and pieces, right? Uh, I was one of his prodigies who trained very well on Zachman framework and eventually other frameworks, by which I went to the stage where I could able to design and architect a company's blueprint, including one of the signature customers for me was US Steel. In 6 months, I gave a blueprint, enterprise architecture blueprint for entire US Steel. I did it in 4 months, but then another 6 months to 2 months to bring everybody together in alignment to give shape. That blueprinting will give enormous growth from that point forward if it is taken very well. So the analogy was John Zachman used to give before, the chemicals all over the world existed, right? The earth has made of chemicals always, millions of years. But only after the periodic table, lot of inventions, most of the inventions started coming up in the world of biotechnology and chemical industry. Why? Because somebody should be able to organize things within a framework, correct? Closeness between the elements and the characteristics of the elements. That's the beauty of creating a framework, and that drove me to, as a motivation for me to create a framework. A simplified framework. I don't want to get so complicated in the beginning. Eventually, you will see, more and more detailed blueprinting will emerge out of Myonomics. So that's that's the starting point, right? To give a framework.
And you mentioned Myonomics, which is the framework you created to, I guess, explain what geoeconomics is in a nutshell from your perspective. Can you highlight or explain what geoeconomics means to you and
Yeah,
this framework that you created?
geoeconomics by definition, right? Not just for me. The definition exists before. It's a political economics, which got a new avatar of it, right? Basically, it's all about finding the right economic choosing, and using or applying the right economic tools and strategies, right? With maximizing the resources, as much of lowest possible resource with the maximum output should be the target, but utilization of economic tools, whatever the economic tools you got, strategies you got, and then use them for political, social and political upliftment of a society. That's geoeconomics, right? When you say that, how it is connected to business, automatically it is connected to business because every business entity is part of the society, part of the country. So the politics is not something completely different from what people are, right? Politics is a kind of it's an extension of who we are, what we wanted to get, as a society, correct? So that's where geoeconomics was a subcomponent of geopolitics, which has been very difficult for people to jump into economics because economics itself is a very vast area, right? So geoeconomics was not getting more traction, but what people were using, even now you see the global leaders negotiate based on minerals, negotiate terms based on artificial intelligence. These are all tools. They are called geoeconomic tools. But again, you have to use it as the right strategy to, apply right strategies and use the right tools for right negotiations. That may sound very political, but then once you have the priorities done, these are the tools we need, these are the resources the nation has to focus on, then you are going to tell the industry, hey, align with it, correct? So the industry goes and gets its priority, and businesses are realigned, restructured according to the priorities, of the nation. That's the magical, one of geoeconomics. So geoeconomics is no more a subcomponent; actually, it becomes a leader in the current world, leading the geopolitics.
So you see it as like a top-down effect from governments down to business and industries.
Bottom up also, somewhere in the between. Basically, as you said, I've been uh, advocate of enterprise architecture well before anybody who even started talking about it, right? Um, it's like we in the enterprise world, you probably will be experiencing as well. It's a every company, mid-sized to large-sized companies mostly. It's a society by itself, right? It's a lot of people, a lot of structures, right? It's if you try to force things only top down, barking orders, it won't come, it won't reach to the lower. It's a kind of a civilian system, right? It may work in the military. In fact, we used to have a Department of Defense architecture. It still exists, DoD architecture, right? And then we have FEAF, Federal Enterprise Architecture Framework, which is applied in most of the civilian government institutions. It should be run by federal enterprise or adopt federal enterprise architecture to run run the entire department. So one thing, top down doesn't work, and bottom up also would not work well individually. It has to be both bottom up and top down, and they have to meet, beautifully, right? So to answer the question, it's not only top down. Like political leaders should also take initiative from that, from as a overall national strategy, with the geoeconomics as a driver, and the industries also. It's not like one day the industry gets a message from the government, hey, there's going to be a big subsidy for producing, AI tools or AI chips, and you go and magically make it. That's what you see that right now happening, right? US was sleeping for a long time. Many countries were sleeping for a long time without getting prepared for the chips, right? Um, why this is say is suddenly TMSC coming with $10 billion, $100 billion, whatever the capital that you put in the fabrics. If you want to put a fabric plant, it could take 5 years to 7 years for the plant to start producing, right? And that preparedness has to be there. Unless you have that, well in advance, the strategy for the nation has to be well in advance, and the industry also should be aligning itself, not only waiting for the government to give instruction, but get ready, by itself. So basically, geoeconomics, we, as a small community of geoeconomic enthusiasts and advisors. So that's what we intend to do, not only to the governments, but to the industry, get them economically knowledgeable, right? Because usually the industries and the entrepreneurs will come to know things pretty late. When the market crashes, they come to know that they lost, their opportunity. And when the market is booming, pretty much only some people, the speculators and the market mediators, make money quickly. But by the time the entrepreneurs catch up, it's too late, right? Except for some oligarchies and oligopolies, right? They're always close to the government, so they can create and influence policies. But most of the entrepreneurs are not ready. Industrialists are very, very, uh, slow in adoption because they don't have the right tools, economic tools, to make decisions. So with frameworks like Myonomics, will make an opportunity for them to, if not fully into economics, which is because economics is mostly theory, right? So this is a opportunity for kind of creating a practical economic where they can measure, analyze, predict the market, and along with the global governmental policy.
And what are the central themes of your geoeconomic framework, Myonomics? How does it bring these things together, and where does AI become involved in all of this?
Okay, so the if you look, economics is all about the psychology and the behavior of people, correct? So we know as people we existed, at least as a primitive form, million years, with at least a society, a cultured, civilized society, with documented evidence, 7,000, 8,000 years, right? So obviously economics is always part of it. Economics part of the human evolution. So human evolution is the central thing, right? The economics change, the art and science of economics started evolving as the human evolution uh, transformed from one stage to the other stage. The key thing is, while with my study across all the philosophers, economists, um, who created theories in the past few hundred years, if not 1,000 years, right? The what I learned is along the human evolution, there's always minimum two groups, which is quite natural. One is one adopts the philosophy of individualism. It's all about what I want individually, right? And then the society, me and the society. That's individualism. And there is another ideology called the collectivism, where oh, me as an individual cannot get what I wanted unless I collectively approach the resources or or the issues, right? So people we kind of and that is very evident in the world's largest one of the you know the world's democracy, right? The U.S. Why there is two groups? Why there is no third one is coming up? A lot of people tried it. Libertarians always align with the republic. Why? Because the republic carries the core philosophy of individualism. So individual rights, human individual rights, is a core thing for a lot of people. Half of the people, at least half of the people, almost people are divided by 50 percentage, right? So half of the people believe in I can stand on myself. I don't need anybody to help me as long as they let me operate freely without influencing me, without stopping me, giving a level playing field for me, right? Where without any bias and influence, I can do everything on my own, uh, almost everything, right? And then I can buy other things with the free will. I will be able to engage with the world. That's one school of thought. People, belong to that, half of the people. Then the other one is the collectivism, where they believe that as an individual, I'm weak compared to a lot of people who could be taking advantage of me. So I need a shelter, right? Collectively, I go and tackle the world. That way, I'm safe, right? That school of thought that these two ideologies existed throughout the history. That's what the study showed, right? So I took that as a core, and then I see a huge need right now. Basically, what's happening right now is these school of thoughts kind of a mixed, in fact, switch over. If you deeply study, um, still coming back to the U.S. because U.S. is the only libertarian society I can really, see in the world, which is uh, regardless of the flaws in the U.S. system, it is still the best republics in the world. And democracy, I won't say, but as a republic, yes, true republic, right? And you can see that evidence from there. That was even the political parties, the ideologies shifted between these two political parties, what they stand for in the last 150 years, right? What used to be the philosophy of the Democrats, most of them is now philosophy of republics, and Republicans philosophy switched over. So that was a core indicator. There's something more happening, right? There a lot of people are looking for a common ground. Okay, you can't keep on fighting with each other because these two are not going to go together, right? If you exist, the other one becomes enemy. Then the system is shifted all the way to the other side, right? Then after 4 years, it's been getting shifted. Then people are getting confused. People are going to are feeling stressed. So the society, even the politicians and the industry leaders are looking for a common ground. At some point of time, we got to live in a system which is more efficient, right? Including both the philosophies, because not one of these two philosophies is going to make it on its own. That's what my take, and that's a core central theme of Myonomics. Coming to the AI, the human intelligence was always an influencer all throughout the history. While the human evolution was going, the human intelligence was always a major player in the balance, right? Because as human intelligence comes from the knowledge, and the knowledge comes from the access to the information. So it tend to be, if the power was in the hands of few people, what we call nobles, right? People if you see the history historically, people call themselves as nobles, and the kings used to appoint the nobles as a kind of knowledge people to drive or advise the government. So that existed, and there was always a bias and kind of a manipulations in that. But now we are in. We learn to, we as a people of a society learn to live with it, and many times we learn to live with this kind of human knowledge-based hijacking of the society, and we learn to tackle it through the government, right? Sometimes government use them to keep them at a bay, but still use them on strategies. But many times it is the people who take things into hand. But one way or the other, these intelligent systems, intelligent community, so-called intelligent community, or the knowledge, wisdom-based nobles, always has to be, handled very well. But with the artificial intelligence, we are seeing this as a huge problem, because at least the human intelligence, you can influence, right, with the help of the other school of thought. Two school of thoughts coming together to tackle this noble system, right? The so-called intelligent system. Because every decision they make, they're going to modify the behavior of the whole community, right? Because they are close to the power, or they can influence the power to tell the king, oh, this is the right way to do. So then the king applies it backwards into the society. So people suffer, or people even sometimes, gain as well because of this, the nobles. But at least people are limited. Number of people who would influence, and then the communication from them to the system and the society can also be kind of somehow checked. There could be a check and balance. You will see that before we start talking about AI, we saw that a lot of behavioral modification of the marketers apply this all the time, right? You study the market and you apply, with the help of the technologies. Modern day, we use tools and technologies to influence. But these tools and technologies lasted 30 years. We still were able to control the behavior of these tools and technologies and the people behind the tools and technologies to influence the society. But the AI, this intelligence, is going to the next level, right? Not the next level, jumping to the multiple levels. It's scary. When I created my AI system, right, the Karma Capsule Network, I had to go 2,000 years in the history to study two philosophies, Plato and Aristotle. Um, the I chose nominalism. A lot of people don't agree with nominalism, but it's one of the best system ever applied. The Aristotle's nominalism, right? I adopted nominalism for the AI framework that I prescribed for one reason, one major reason. Plato, his teacher, right? Uh, Plato was about he Plato was he was forcing ideology, right? He's almost convinced there is ideal system. There is something, very purest form is available. Enlightenment comes from there. That's idealism. The problem with most of the AI creators, it's very important, right? A lot of people don't even get close to it. Most of the current AI systems were all based on idealism. One founder, right, one creator of AI or one country, right, if the country can influence, become an ideal. Basically, you don't your algorithms and your programming, everything is based on certain ideology, which can be coming out of some philosophy. It could be a right philosophy or wrong philosophy, coming from one ideological philosophy or one, guy, literally one guy who can make the decision and play as God, right? That is what most of the AI, and it kills me from inside when I see such kind of AI, because I can see that what's going to happen eventually. Everybody, a lot of these gods, demigods are going to come behind the AI. Each AI will become a god, right? So that's the idealism which I didn't like. Why I love nominalism, Aristotle's nominalism. Aristotle's nominalism says that you only learn from the environment. The intelligence comes from the environment, not from somewhere from the purest form. Correct? That's a beautiful basics for creating an AI, because AI should learn. It should not be programmed by one guy. It should not be influenced by small group of people. It should learn. It should have the ability to learn, adapt itself from the environment, right? That environment should not be biased environment. It should be, very, very neutral environment, and a kind of a free environment where there's no simple bias. And creating such kind of network is very, very, very difficult. That's why most of these Gen AIs are all kind of a shallow. They call LLM and all, but then end of the day, what they do is just manipulations, right? The natural language processing, they're quickly putting the things together to only work on the words and words. Words coming from logic, right? The logic is the base, right? But then the words can go back and influence the logic, which can basically influence the whole system. I can go on talking about it for a long time, but that's the core, right? The central theme is, right now, I feel that the right time to create right framework before AI takes over us in the wrong direction. It's necessary for I'm doing my whatever I could able to do, come with a framework, and I'm going to keep working more on this. While I'll be happy to share the knowledge with other people who can work positively towards creating a good, beautifully inherited, digitally transformed world.
And in merging these two, how do you practically implement this? Instead of having one individual creating this AI god, do you have a group of individuals that come together as a collective to create this AI that you speak of, or how is it implemented?
That's a beautiful question. That's a exactly precise question that I was looking for the right moment. That's the beauty of blockchain. right? So first time when I saw the blockchain, right, I got a wow moment when somebody could able to put together, concept of blockchain, the decentralization, the trustlessness, right? Um, that is the turning point. So it can only be implemented with the consortium of people getting together. So by now, people closest to me would know that I advocate for consortium blockchain. That means it's not that I don't support public blockchains. I'm a critic of Bitcoin because it doesn't. Bitcoin, I love Bitcoin as a technology, but I'm a critic of Bitcoin being traded as an asset because it's not an asset, right? But I'm also upset with the community that they could have done a lot more with the Bitcoin, with the capital they were raising. A lot of things could have been done in the right way. Essentially, consortium blockchain is neither private nor public. So private blockchain doesn't even make sense. They're just implementing a technology. They could have done it with something else also, right? So the integrity, we use the word integrity. Integrity of blockchain will be lost in every private implementation because those who are technologists would understand it. That is, I don't want to name I analyze a lot of blockchain on behalf of my clients. So I I get passionate about it, and I can deep dive into even to the code level a lot. So I was there's one blockchain, and many of them are like that. One blockchain where they have a blockchain implemented, but you can also they said that there is an additional feature. You can also go to the database to get the query, the data. How come this blockchain? You have the data in the network, the blockchain. Oh, you can also query that same thing in the database. That's the integrity is lost. Distributed computing, decentralization, the immutability of data, everything is under attack. Right? The moment you put the data where somebody can query it, somebody can modify that. They say that whatever in the chain will be there, whatever off-chain only we are. Well, you don't even have to expose the data. Even the read form should not be there, right? So there are a lot of funny things happens in the private world. People call technology something, even AI, right? AI is a joke these days with everybody's doing AI in doing something and call it as AI. As long as they can gain .ai as a domain, people launch AI system. So what I was getting you into is the consortium blockchain is trade-off, right? It brings in the best out of the private because it is created for private people, okay? But they have to come as a consortium, and which by retaining all the integrity of the blockchain, why the blockchain was invented. So with as a society that we envision to take it forward, accepting both that's your question, right? How to take get them all together for common minimum understanding. Two completely different groups can come together, right, and form some union with a common minimum understanding. That common minimum understanding creates governance, right? And that governance can become immutable and can be configured as an immutable governance. The rules can be written as algorithms, and the contracts can be written as smart contracts beautifully with blockchain. And the consortium, the voters or the people or the participants in the consortium. In a way, you see the caucuses, right? The U.S. Electoral system, the caucus happens in some of the states, right? Pretty much the same thing. You take minimum, common minimum things by which two groups can get together and form a society, right? You can always form another society for different, common minimum understandings. In that way, integrity of each one of these social systems can be, retained. So that's a prescription that I put forward with the Myonomics, and I believe and it's not that dropping something that will only happen in the future. No, it's already happening. People don't call it as a consortium blockchain, but a lot of people are doing it silently, right? Some of them may not be the way I wanted it to be, but wherever I get involved, I make sure that it is created as a consortium with full integrity of decentralization, distributedness, trustlessness, and immutable algorithms.
And this common minimum understanding, what does this look like in practice? Does this look like a code base that's shared that just outlines like a target aim or like outcome, or what does this common minimum understanding look like?
Yeah, goals, pretty much the goals with the high level, and then translated in the form of implemented in the form of actually writing the code, obviously, right? So it is everybody has to be stakeholder here. Like if for example, if it's easy to write rules, but going and implementing it is difficult, right? So basically, everybody takes part in this whole thing. All these people should be a participant in with the understanding of the principle of the common understanding. But the common minimum at the highest level, it could be if I'm creating yeah, a geoeconomic framework between two nations or a group of nations, right? This common minimum understanding will be a kind of a treaty, right? Signed by all the political leaders coming together, right? And then the business community coming together as the stakeholders, right? They also sign up the rules of engagement for the trading community and the business community, enterprise community, and all these rules and have to be kind of aligned with with each other, and governance has to be created parallelly. But all these things should be finally coded, right? Uh, Previously, before AI blockchain, we used to develop the systems, governance systems, and all. It's all mostly kind of a loosely coupled codes, which can be modified easily by somebody getting access into it, right? Um, Except for in government organizations, they have a mandate. They send a memorandum that cannot touch this data, but it's still accessible for somebody working inside to access. But post blockchain, you won't give access. Even if you want to give access, there's no access because it's only the consortium that controls access to this data. So obviously, the coders or every code has to become immutable code, right? People talk about immutability of the data, but immutability of the smart contracts and the immutability of the code itself, okay, has to be implemented. The guy who writes a code should, once approved, once provisioned, should not get access to change it. I know you say that, oh, there are source code control systems and all, but even those have some access by which, with a few authorization at the lowest level, you still will be able to go and change the code. But what we are prescribing moving forward, if you are taking such a kind of a economic, the policy-oriented code, it has to become highly immutable, right? That's where you can create such a decentralized system with a common minimum understanding, which can be implemented all the way down.
With the common minimum understanding of the collective being immutable in code, how would you allow for the freedom of individuals to contribute to that collective in creative ways?
Okay, great. So that's where the caucuses come in, right? Individuals make a decision. The republic, right? You ask a lot of people, can you differentiate between a republic and a democracy, many people would not be able to explain it very well. That's a key here to understand. So, in a simplistic way, right? In democracy, it says, hey, 51% people agree to something, remaining 49% people comply, whether you like it or not, right? In republic, hey, 51% people are still going to make decision, right? 51 is a majority, but remaining 49 need not participate. You are let to free from this particular thing, what you're voting for, right? You are let free. You don't have to participate in this. You don't have to comply. If you willingly, you can participate because you like it, you lost it, but you still wanted to support it. Beautiful, you can support, but you have a choice to stay away. That's the difference of republic, right? So the model that we would be implementing, which would be needed moving forward, is a system by which individuals need not become participants. So what we are creating as a consortium blockchain, right? The stakeholders would be different, right? So every stakeholder will have depending on how we wanted to create the governance system, starting from the citizen lowest contributor to the highest contributor. Everybody can have some kind of a common voting rights, but only those people with the highest chosen people, right, to participate. Again, the chosen people, what you call as a caucuses, who represent the rest of the people, right? So you create the you in the even the electoral college system works that way, right? Every electoral vote represents millions of people, correct? So that's how it works. It has to be created that way. But rest of the people would be given a choice not to participate in that particular common minimum understanding if they don't like it.
And these participants, like a caucus, they would get to choose who they I guess, delegate their voting power to?
Correct. It can be one way of implementing it. Because practical implementation, you can't have like Bitcoin, right? Where you cannot make everybody everybody should make a voting right in order to change something. But if you are if it is created for not for a billion people, if you're creating a consortium only to represent say 1 million people, you're looking at total million participants. Out of that participants, some of them, a delegation could be 1,000 people, right, who would be delegated to vote on behalf of these people. So there are multiple ways by which this can be organized. But once the structure is organized, and then only those 1,000 people will keep voting. But if they don't like if the rest of the people, the 1 million people, don't like the way the 1,000 is acting, then they all can get together to vote the 1,000 out of power. So such it may sound mostly as more as a political system, but even the enterprises, right? Moving forward, what we call it as in the global integrated trade, such a kind of a system will become very beautifully a good geoeconomic system for companies to engage with the world. If you have such kind of a bridge system, right, where you get the inputs from the global trade, global economic climate, then integrate it backwards into the company, a company can be run very efficiently.
What would you say are the biggest hurdles in achieving this type of economic system in reality?
The hurdles usually hijacking of systems. Like right now, what we are looking at is what we call it as a techno feudalism. You see that I was talking about it. I was not using the same word to describe it, but I kind of described Microsoft and companies like Amazon, AWS are all like feudals, right? Because in the early stage, I saw that, okay, there's a computing, it's all about good computing, taking servers to the cloud, blah, blah, blah. But then within few years, I started seeing that what they're trying to do, it's all about converting, it's not about technology, it's about converting the system of, renting, right? So they become rental lots. That's all they are right now. So they are going to be a big hurdle because I was in a very high profile meeting once uh, with a big company. They are supposed to advocate. The, the meeting was for blockchain, but within 25 minutes of the meeting, I could able to understand their intention is not to promote blockchain, right? Their intention is actually to crush blockchain so that their other thriving business will keep going, right? Because blockchain is an enemy to them. Why would they promote the enemy, right? So that would be a problem, big hurdle with the the dominating oligopolies companies. More techno-feudal companies will become a hurdle, right? And then the the other hurdles would be bad technology, implementation. So, yeah, no matter what we talk, right, including the AI that I described, right? Um, Many people are programming the AI, right? AI should be the math and the algorithm. It's physics. It has to take care of itself. It's only through the data you train the model. You train the model, and data is your program, right? Except for the baseline program of the model, rest of the things are all should be through the data, and then removing the bias out of the system. But then implementation always is a major hurdle for any kind of a revolution. So we are going to face that same problem in the implementation also, right? With this as well. Although I traveled in the tech industry for a long time, I was always unhappy that yeah, the information consulting companies, the big fives, are they converted the whole thing into a money making machine, right? Dollar printing, dollar circulation machine, by which the consumption of dollar was the main thing, and consulting is just used as a mechanism to suck the dollar out. Both sides, the contract giver as well as the contract taker, and the workers are all just only participant in the whole chain of dollar circulation. So the what is lost here is the implementation get lost, right? The core of the core philosophy of developing a system would be good. The guiding principles of the system may be fantastic, but by the time it gets implemented, when the implementation only goes as long as there is a money, keep on going together with it. The moment most of the time the money is consumed within 30% of the journey, and rest of the time it's all going to be, implementation is going to be bad. So implementation is going to be another major hurdle. And the as we talked in the beginning, framework, right? So lack of framework, uh, hopefully, and that's what Myonomics, is a beginning, and I'm intent to be a front runner in this to prescribe more frameworks and methodologies and tools. And this is not the first time I'm doing it. I was doing it, only a close circle of people would knew it. It's back in the enterprise architecture time. I created enterprise service-oriented architecture as a framework, and I modified existing frameworks to make it more implementable and really can, create the efficiency in the system. So frameworks, methodologies, tools, they're all going to be hurdles, but they can be tackled if the right choice is made, right? Does And then there's the final most important thing is the hurdle that we are going to face and we have to tackle is what we are bringing. The technology world in the early uh, 90s and the early 2000s, the technology was driving a lot of decisions, right? Then we brought in a room for business, to take a role in what you call business engineering, right? This is the area where enterprise architecture and services-oriented architecture started bringing the two worlds of business and tech together. Every company, we started seeing the difference, and people like me were influencing it, bringing a common ground for both of them to come together to proper implementation of systems. But now we are throwing economics into it, right? This is going to be a third component. So that's going to be a huge challenge unless I have a plan, right? It's going to take some time for me to come, and then I'm glad to share it with a community of people who are ready to travel with me. So more methodologies, more economic-oriented models, value-oriented models for the investors. From the investor's perspective, the intrinsic value is most important thing. The intrinsic value stays inside the company, right? Every company that you own, the intrinsic value stays inside the company. And most of the time, this intrinsic value is not being promoted very well outside the company to reflect in the shares of the company, right? That's where most of the investors' decision, they're very well-trained investors also make a mistake because they make trade decisions based on the market data, but they don't have much tools available to measure the internal health of the company. Thankfully, with the geoeconomics frameworks and tools and components, we will be able to throw additional components that people can measure the health and wealth of the companies and at large the nation as well.
So the current economic system is about value capture, bringing dollars in. And you're saying this new economic framework would be about value creation for how the individual can contribute to the collective to create value?
Great. Both. So the value creation, first of all, value creation should be done in order to trade, right? So that's why people like me are not against Bitcoin as a technology, but trading Bitcoin as a value. It's not. You may claim it is a holder of the value or the trust, but then end of the day, value has to be captured. So the value of what we call as a hotspots within the organization can only be captured at the engineering level. So if you make a mistake, right? So if you make a mistake at the architecture level or the ground level, developing every system, right? Then you're blocking opportunity for creation of these values. So while the onus of creation of the value lies with not only the leaders but also the engineers. That's why we need a discipline to be created, a system of methodology to be created, that the value-oriented architecture becomes a driver for every system moving forward, right? At the highest level, what I call the business and the leadership should be working on economy-oriented architecture, and the ground level, the engineering should be working on value-oriented architecture, and there has to be an alignment between the economic-oriented architecture and value-oriented architecture. And this is done for different reasons, with a different methodology in the past. Although industry adoption was very, very low, but I'm prescribing it in a completely different form, with bringing the economics into the game. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity can be created for people to, a new breed of engineers can be created out of this. I don't want to say I create jobs, but sound like I'm creating jobs. But literally, I did in my although I never published book or it all kept because everywhere the companies that I used to help in the service-oriented architecture, I literally coined, created some of the roles which they did not believe in the beginning. How can this be a role? Yeah, eventually it became a role. Okay, the industry. I got a call a few years ago from guy from US Steel. The guy, he said, "How can?" At that time, we thought you are crazy. You're prescribing all these things. How you could able to do that? Because right now, whatever we are doing, that's exactly same thing what you prescribed. It's sitting, only few of us know your document, your 200-page document exists, right? Most of the leaders did not even see it. Yeah, the US Steel would have been world's number one company. I'm not speculating to this, but in a way, right? In a way, if they have adopted these things, they could have made a lot of different decisions. It should not be sitting as a 200-page document somewhere in the desk, right? Unfortunately, the jobs can. I have a coin word, many years ago, even I cooperated. Jobs can neither be created, jobs like energy, right? Neither be created nor destroyed. It transforms. So what I'm saying is not about, bloating myself as, oh, I know better or I'm going to change the world. No, what I'm saying is, look, based on what is going to transpire, I'm saying there's going to be a new generation of jobs. But the only thing is people should be equipped to be part of it. I'm not going to throw a blind, like the Apple's Tim or Zuckerberg throwing, everybody's going to become a coder. Everybody's going to become an AI developer. No, that's bullshit, right? It's not it. That's not what we are talking about. You still have to be an engineer. You should be qualified, right? And you should have a passion to do it. All I'm saying is more moving forward, it's going to be more on the economy and value-oriented programming, right? Something got to give, correct? After so many years of playing on the AI field, and suddenly Microsoft, CEO is coming and saying that, yeah, we understand that AI use cases are not matured. Well, that's what we have been telling industry people in the industry. You wanted to make money, you keep the stock high by keep on speculating Microsoft going to do this magic, that magic in AI. Finally, you are coming with a statement that AI is not scalable. There's not much use case. If you could able to really listen to the people who could create these use cases or interested in creating the market, things would have been much different. And that's going to happen right now. Whether handful of I wrote an article. I'm not sure whether you read it. Last week I published it. I'm boldly predicting half of the Magnificent Seven is going to be vanishing very soon. Okay, it's not the first time, right? The top, market capitalized companies vanished in the past. Vanished in the sense they're not going to go totally out of business. Of course, the valuation is going to come down, correct? If you don't inherit the world, properly, then obviously you're not going to be there as the leader, right? So having said that, this is a tremendous opportunity now moving forward if the frameworks are all aligned properly and industry responds to it, and including the leaderships.
And this will be last question of the day here. It's been great talking with you. Assuming this future becomes realized and extrapolating this framework, this adoption into existence, what advice would you have for navigating that future?
So the navigating the advice for whom? Advice to who?
At an individual level or organizational level, How would you navigate it from either of those perspectives?
Okay, so individually, every individual should once again focus on how to equip themselves with the world, moving forward. Digitally transformed world is going to be quite different, right? Which you already are witnessing in one or many ways, but it's going to go more and more, becoming transformed. So if you don't understand the complexities, people tend to avoid complexities. Unfortunately, you become just a number, right? In the overall system. So if somebody wants to be the winner moving forward, and as an individual, equip yourself in terms of reskilling and realigning your thoughts towards market dynamics. So as an individual as an investor, one has to be vigilant moving forward, like how the intrinsic value and moat can be created. So the investment decisions were not in the public market. Most of the investors make a decision like a gamble, right? Or they read through the why to beat around the bush. Most of them gamble in the stock market, right? Speculation and gambling. But in the private market, you can make a very good, intelligent decision. So, the alternate investment market, which I mostly work with, right, as an investor and a VC, intention is to create a good, first of all, create great companies, right, with the intrinsic value, help individuals to reskill, readapt, and including entrepreneurs to understand the value-oriented architecture and intrinsic value-based asset creation. With the investor side, it's about helping. They should be understanding that moving forward, you will have more tools and technologies and models to measure. You don't have to get stuck with theoretical um, uh, economists coming and giving a lecture on economic models. I'm not saying they're wrong, but most of these economic theories and the measurements are all based on the past. Not necessarily they can be repeated in the future. If you really wanted to predict as much precise possible, you really need to know what is happening inside the organization, and that is possible with the private alternate investment market. With these geoeconomic tools, you adopt more of these tools and technologies and knowledge, then obviously you should be able to make very wise decisions in terms of investments. As an individual, as a policymaker or a national leader and all, one thing is very sure moving forward as the AI-driven technology, digitally transformed technological uh, enabled world, your country may have an opportunity to become a leader because in spite of infrastructure problems, because most of these systems development would not need a really big infrastructure. So there is an opportunity, but if the opportunity is not being used and being not aligned properly, there's going to be a big trouble, right? So following the digital transformation, watch and follow the digital transformation, the way it is going. All transformations are not the same. Economy is a continuum. Technological advancement is a continuum. It is always pieces of puzzles, leading getting uh, transpired from one another. So economy, technology, business, they're all going to be integrated and they're all going to move as a continuum. You have to watch where the transformation is going. That would be the major advice I would give individually, even as the leaders. Somebody as a leader, yes, CXOs of a company should be vigilant about this. And they heard a lot about digital transformation. But when whatever you are hearing until now is all about technology implementation, right? But technology component itself is not going to make that transformation. And if you don't transform, somebody else is going to transform, and they're going to be the winner.
Maya, it's always great chatting. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Oh, thank you, man. Nice chatting with you, and thank you for giving this opportunity to share my input to the world. And I hope Myonomics is going to be adopted by the community, and I'll be happy to get involved as much I can support.